good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, as Nigeria marks 57 years of nationhood, President Muhammadu Buhari describes corruption as the country's #1 enemy that must be tackled headlong. Troops fighting insurgents in the northeast get a morale booster as President makes surprise visits to Maiduguri. Messages of hope and unity resonate throughout the country as the country's independence is marked all over. And over 700 people are injured as Spanish police try to use force to block voting in Catalonia's independence referendum. It's been 57 years since the country gained independence from colonial rule, and expectedly the country has been celebrating that achievement. President Muhammadu Buhari, in a nationwide broadcast to Nigerians earlier today, reiterated his belief in a strong and united country. He, however, described corruption as the hydra-headed monster that must be tamed if the country is to achieve its full potential.
It has become traditional for Nigerian leaders to reach out to the citizens on October the 1st through a nationwide broadcast. And taking advantage of this, President Buhari began his broadcast by identifying corruption as Nigeria's #1 enemy. While agreeing that restructuring is quite proper and legitimate, he condemns strongly agitations by some groups to dismember the country.
At all events, proper dialogue and any desired constitutional changes should take place in a rational manner at the national and state assemblies. These are the proper and legal fora for national debate, not some lopsided, undemocratic body with predetermined set of objectives.
The president, on the other hand, praised the armed forces for what he called their gallantry in defeating Boko Haram, promising that his government is committed to rescuing the remaining Chibok girls and others still being held in captivity.
Our armed forces, in an effort to enhance the operational capability of troops of Operation Lafia Dole, have established mobile strike teams in the northeast. These will ensure the final push to wipe out the remnants of Boko Haram.
On the economy, a new presidential initiative will be launched with each state of the federation creating jobs for the unemployed youths in the country. He also says his government will attain 10,000 megawatts of electricity by 2020.
A new presidential initiative is starting with each state of the federation creating a minimum of 10,000 jobs for unemployed youth, again with the aid of central banks' development finance initiatives. Power remains a huge problem. As of September 12th, production of power reached an all-time high of 7,001 megawatts. Government is increasing its investment, clearing up the operational and financial logjam, bedeviling the industry. We hope to reach 10,000 megawatts by the year 2020.
The president ends his address to the nation on the note that the country has recorded 7 consecutive months of lower inflation. He appealed to the National Assembly to support his administration and also pass enabling corruption laws that will speed up the anti-graft battle.
They should, in addition, ensure swift passage of enabling corruption laws. But fighting corruption is a bottom-to-top operation.
The president's address is coming at a time when the nation is emerging from recession. But there are still lots of expectations by Nigerians of improvement in other areas of the economy as this government enters the 3rd lap of its tenure.
Call it a morale booster, and you will not be wrong. Nigerian troops fighting insurgents in the northeast region today received an august visitor in none other than the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari. President Buhari celebrated the country's independence with the troops in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, assuring them of the federal government's commitment to ensuring their comfort at all times.
My dear Nigerians, October 1st remains as official date for all Nigerians.
During the customary nationwide independence broadcast, President Muhammadu Buhari must have been looking forward to his schedule for the day, which will see him travel to a place he commissioned when he assumed office. Soldiers at the Lafayette Dole Theatre Command in Maiduguri are practicing their marches in preparation for the army chiefs, without any idea that they would be receiving a special guest. As the vehicles pull through, the president's presence is a pleasant surprise. The first mission of the president is to inspect the quarter guard. Then it's time for another speech, and President Buhari uses the opportunity to extol the troops and extend assurances of the federal government.
I assure you that under this leadership, there will be resources available as much as the country can afford it to support your operations. I would like to remind you that I have mentioned it in my speech today, that no matter what happens, the military will remain in the front line until we make sure that people are free wherever they live in this country.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, relays the feeling of the soldiers, which is one of renewal of hope and purpose.
This visit is definitely a morale booster for us all, as we propel us to greater performance in our efforts to address the security challenges confronting our country.
The independence cake is cut amidst promises made by the president.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Mr. President has just...
On their part, the men of the Nigerian army are determined to fulfill their end of the bargain, which is to contain any threat and maintain peace, as they look to the federal government to fulfill theirs.
The 57th anniversary of Nigeria's independence was marked in different ways in northern parts of Nigeria. For some states, an elaborate military parade was organized, with dignitaries calling on Nigerians to live in peace and unity. In other states, executives attended church services and encouraged worshippers to pray for the unity and prosperity of the country.
As Nigeria marks her 57th independence anniversary, the event is observed in different ways across the country. In Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, the independence celebration witnessed a march past by men of the military, though with a low turnout of people. A similar event takes place in Kano State, with the state governor and the emir of Kano encouraging citizens that Nigeria has a bright future.
Our administration remains committed to serving you and fulfilling our promises towards delivering dividends of democracy through improved social services, boosting of agriculture, adequate water supply, provision of qualitative education, healthcare services, internally generated revenue, as well as infrastructural development.
We started off very well and then lost it somewhere along the way. Hopefully, with the fight against corruption, with the emphasis on security, and with intelligent policy making and implementation and democracy, we should be able to meet the expectations of the founding fathers.
With the day falling on a Sunday, Nigerians trooped to churches where prayers were offered and special songs rendered. In Plateau and Kaduna, the state executives attend church services where they pray for peace and unity in the country.
Whatever it is, there is no alternative to peace. There is no alternative to the unity that we have in this country. So our own is to thank God that in Nigeria, we are living together. We are living in unity and we are living peacefully.
It is my prayer that Nigeria will fulfill her potential, that it will grow into a strong, united country that creates opportunity for its citizens and delivers a better life for all of us.
In Adamawa State, there is no official activity to commemorate the occasion. The streets are virtually empty with few vehicular movements. The Bishop of Upper Room Cathedral, Yola, prays for the unity and prosperity of the country, while his counterpart in Abuja stresses the need for equity and justice.
But the fact is that we are all Nigerians and that it's a gift from God to us. Nobody shows Nigeria. We just found ourselves right inside, and we must accept this gift as something that we must cherish.
Some people say unity is what we need in the country. I said that our number one priority now in Nigeria is not unity. It is justice, fairness, and equity.
In Kogi State, the governor, in a state broadcast to mark the Independence Day, says Nigeria has a lot to be grateful for.
That even though we have not accessed our gains after amalgamation, the present government led by President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, is making efforts to optimize our potentials as a nation.
For many Nigerians, the country has gone through interesting times despite some challenges, and they believe the years ahead will be better than the past.
Meanwhile, there was celebration at the Eagle Square in Abuja, where festivities were in high spirits, celebrating Nigeria's independence.
Young, full of life and from various schools, their origins, faith and culture as diverse as their uniforms. They answered the call to unite and celebrate the nation's 57th anniversary, and the venue is the Eagle Square. Their host delivers this message.
As we mark 57 years of nationhood, I wish to assure all residents of the FCT that we continue to build upon the vision, the guidance, and the mandate of our leader, President Muhammadu Buhari.
The children put up beautiful performances.
The Eagle Square, flanked by the Federal Secretariat, the National Assembly with a spectacular view of the Asu Rock, is a symbolic arena for the transfer of power. It has also hosted commercial, religious and political events, including the National Day Parade. But the last time such parade held on this arena is in 2010.
There were a few people in the stands to listen to the message of peace and hope, and conspicuously missing are the service chiefs, the military, paramilitary and the federal authorities like it used to be. Some Nigerians say they remember the recent past with nostalgia.
It's very sad because then back we used to see different parade, even Mr. President himself used to be here at this parade ground. But very unfortunately, due to insecurity in the country, today look at the number of people that are present in this Eagle Square.
Past independent parades, the president and all the federal government crew always be here and other places. Why at this moment, why is it so? Second, independent parade is never a children or a childless parade.
With relative peace in the nation, they believe it is safe to put back the pomp and pageantry into the Independence Day celebrations and return the Eagle Square to its glorious days as early as October 1, 2018. Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.